Hi, everybody. It's Miss Amy, and I am here to bring Chapter 12, The Troops, of Lynn Reed's Banks' Return of the Indian to you. Now, remember, boys and girls, Miss Amy does not own the rights to this book. I just own the book, and I get to share it with you. And I just wanted to remind you, there are movies of the Indian in the cupboard. I'm not positive on the return to Indian. I have to check that out. Maybe I'll look that up later on tonight, and maybe in my next video I'll be able to tell you. But I do know that there is a video. I also strongly encourage you to read the prequel of The Return of the Indian, which is The Indian in the Cupboard. And I also encourage you to read The Return of the Indian. I believe there's a third one too. So I'm just saying, just because Miss Amy reads it doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and buy it. This is a wonderful book to have and to read over and over again. I've read it now with you, and I don't even remember most of it. Then again, I'm a little old, but just, go out and buy you the book. It's a great book. Anyways, so we're going to bring chapter 12. Now remember in our last chapter, in chapter 11, Patrick brought a bunch of people to life, didn't they? And it didn't go so well, did it? Nope, nope, nope. Imagine that. Another one of Patrick's deals didn't go well. Surprise, surprise. Well, let's go ahead and let's reach into chapter 12, The Troops, and see what happens. The boys ate lunch decorously downstairs. I don't know what that even means. So as not to arouse suspicions, though it was sheer agony to leave the attic bedroom when so much was going on. Little Bear was absolutely in torment, they could see, and though Omri, for his part, was in no hurry to send him back, he felt they must do something as soon as possible to further the plan. That's right. Little Bear wants to go back. I forgot about that. But he doesn't want to go back alone, does he? Nope. He wants to go back with more Iroquois Indians and with nowadays, well, according to this nowadays, weapons. All right. Keep on going, Miss Amy. Omri's parents were full of the party they were going to that evening. Adil and Gillian were going to the movies and were arguing fiercely about which one. Gillian was carrying on a side argument with his parents about the desirability of hiring a video, which he assured them would save far more than it cost in the end. Parental reactions to this excellent idea was, as usual, automatic and negative. I don't know what hiring a video means, but okay, moving on. All this could not help seeming ridiculously trivial to Omri, with so much on his mind. They had been out to the model shop before lunch. Omri had taken along one of his books on Indians and tried to find the ones who were dressed in distinctive Iroquois clothes. Floppy leggings with feather decorations, moccasins gathered around the ankles, a sort of thing hanging like an apron from the waist, turkey feathers in a band around the forehead. Only there weren't many like that. It was extraordinary what a variety of Indian costumes there were, and the model shop had what appeared to be representatives from a dozen tribes. A dozen is 12, in case you didn't know. Omri knew how bitter the hatred between warring tribes could be. The Algonquins, for instance, were the Iroquois' mortal enemies. It would be no use bringing any of them. But since there weren't anything like enough that he was sure were Iroquois, Omri had brought some others he wasn't sure of, in the hopes that Little Bear would recognize them as belonging to some friendly Indian nation who would agree to help the Iroquois in their hour of trial. Patrick, book in hand, was at another shelf looking at English soldiers of different periods. He wanted to find some who might have fought the French in America. Omri wasn't keen on bringing any white men into it. But Patrick, well, we all know Patrick is going to do something he shouldn't. I bet they'd handle modern weapons better than a bunch of primitive Indians anyhow. Omri told him not to be so racist. But when Patrick found some that looked right, according to an illustration in the book, Omri made no objection to buying even one mounted officer. The horse, a handsome black, made him much more expensive. The whole lot, about 50 assorted Indians and 5 soldiers, set them back over 10 pounds. So I guess because the horse was even nicer, or because it was black, it made it cost more. It must have been a real pretty color black, but I mean, the color black is the color black. But anyways, I guess it made it more expensive. So it cost them over 10 pounds, which for Omri was 2 weeks' pocket money. Patrick chipped in, though he hadn't brought much. Yeah, I bet you he didn't. But he sure did want to buy some, didn't he? Mm-hmm. So now they had this bag full of potential allies for Little Bear, and the boys couldn't wait to get started. As soon as lunch was over, the rest of the family scattered, and the boys became quiet. On the way upstairs, Omri said, "Do you think we dare bring them outdoors?" "I want to start putting things in the cupboard," said Patrick. "So do I. I meant bring the cupboard out too. Then, if any shooting should start, it wouldn't be so dangerous." "Why should it be less dangerous outdoors?" "I don't know. It just feels as if it would be." "Well, okay. But what if your father or anyone comes out into the garden?" "Dad's painting in his studio. Anyway, there's a hedged off bit down at the bottom, which is just shrubs. He never goes there." They found the little people waiting for them anxiously. "Where Omri go so long time?" Little Bear demanded at once. "Calm down. We've been getting the men." Little Bear sat up straight, his eyes glowing. "Show." "In a minute." Carefully, Omri lifted the matchbox bed into the seed tray. "Bright stars, cover him up warmly. We're going outside." She put the gloved finger around him to the armpits, while Boone ran up the ramp and pulled it up behind him. The 2 ponies were munching grass in their fenced-off paddock. Omri picked the whole thing up, while Patrick took the cupboard and the bag of new men. As an afterthought, he slipped Matron in his pocket. That's some smart thinking. So now we know where the matron is. I didn't think she had gone back to the sister because Patrick hadn't gone back, right? But at least now I know that she's plastic again. Omri did a quick I cannot say this word. I can hear it, I just can't say it. Reconnaissance. To see that nobody was around. In other words, he looked around to make sure that it was all clear. Then they cautiously trooped down the stairs and out the kitchen door into the back garden. It was a really lovely place, far better than their old garden. It was not just a rectangle of lawn with a few flower beds. It had nooks and crannies. Omri headed for his favorite corner, a clump of bushes with a patch of grass in the middle, where rhododendrons, rhododendrons, and other tall plants kept prying eyes at bay. I don't know that word either. See, boys and girls, even when you're an adult, sometimes these words still get hard. Rhododendrons. Rhododendrons. And other tall plants kept prying eyes at bay. The sun was high, and the place was sheltered from the wind. Still, Omri suggested Little Bear should be put into the longhouse to keep warm. No, not want. Want be in sun. Sun give orenda. What's that? Little Bear looked baffled. Not know orenda? Orenda for all men. Life, strength, sun give, and rain. Orenda in animal, plant, all thing. Master of good make. Now, Omri, be master of good. Make brave. Many fight for Little Bear people. Omri felt a cold shiver. He didn't like the idea of playing God, but it was too late to back out now. They laid the seed tray and the cupboard on the grass. Boone at once put the ramp back in position, saddled his pony, tested his lasso, which he kept coiled around the pommel, and set off for a ride. It was rough going, as the grass in the shrubbery was not often mowed, but he didn't seem to mind. "You fellas settle things. I'm going for a gallop." "Keep us in sight," said Patrick. "That same as saying keep the Rocky Mountains in sight," laughed Boone. He waved his hat at them and went racing off between the grass stems, shouting, "Yippee!" in the approved cowboy fashion. One of the most satisfying things about Boone was the fact that he always behaved exactly as the boys expected. This helped to balance Little Bear. They never knew what to expect from him. The boys now began to set up the little men they'd bought in lines for Little Bear to inspect. Even though the Indian was well aware they couldn't see him, he seemed to feel ashamed before them, lying in what he called white man bed. He made Bright Stars help him off it and onto a stack of, here we go again with that word, rhododendron leaves he ordered to be laid on the earth. It looked very grand, like stiff layers of shiny, dark green leather, but not very comfortable, Omri thought. Little Bear sat cross-legged and stared narrowly at the Indian figures one by one. Several times he demanded that one of them be brought and laid before him for closer inspection. Some he discarded with an imperious wave of his hand. Once he uttered a deep growl. "Why bring Algonquin enemy?" "Sorry," said Omri, hastily removing the offended figure. "I thought he was a Mohawk. He dresses like one." "Mohawk part of Iroquois nation." Omri not see difference. Stupid. Big eyes not best. What a mean word. I really love Little Bear, but he's not the nicest person, is he, boys and girls? Kind of mean. I guess we'll just believe it's because he doesn't know any other manners. But I do believe he has good intentions, and I know that he cares about Omri. About 3/4 of the men they'd brought were eventually approved. Then Little Bear turned his eyes to the British soldiers. They were rather splendid in their white breeches, scarlet coats, and 3-cornered hats. But Omri didn't think they looked very businesslike. The white bands crossed on their chests and back made ideal targets. But perhaps the brilliance of their uniform was intended to intimidate the enemy. Anyway, they were all armed with muskets tipped with fearsome-looking blades. Omri bent one easily with his finger, thinking how sharp and lethal they would be when the cupboard had done its work, and these bayonet swords became gleaming steel. "These no good," Little Bear pronounced abruptly. Patrick and Omri were astonished. What's wrong with them? Said Patrick. Are they the wrong time? Right time. Near right. English soldier like that. Fight French in big battle soon before French win. Oh, why? Fight better. But also English dress stupid. This. He pointed contemptuously to the red coats and white trimmings. Catch, son. Call I of French soldier. Gun point. He made a shooting noise. No good if soldier proud. Must dress so enemy not see. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, look at our military. When they dress, they kind of try to, be camouflaged into their setting. That's why when they're in Alaska, they have one set of uniforms, or in the desert, they have one set of uniforms, in the jungle. So, I mean, you kind of gotta hide and be camouflaged, unlike our friend Steve over there in the corner who's just staring at us. He's in a lot of my children's ministry videos on here. So if you want to see Steve in action, you gotta watch those. Sorry, guys. Sorry, boys and girls. How did the English soldiers dress now? More like Indian? Earth colors. Like leaf, shadow, more good for hide. Jump out on enemy. White man learn much from Indian. Miss Amy's voice is a little off because I don't know who's speaking. It really isn't saying who's speaking, and I got to guess by what they're saying. So I'm sorry if my voices are changing. And I have a little bit of a headache, and when I have a little bit of a headache, it seems harder for me to read. So I'm trying, boys and girls, because I really wanted to get this chapter out to you. Now, who's proud? Patrick whispered to Omri. Now who's proud? Patrick whispered to Omri. Or should I say, now who's proud? Patrick whispered to Omri. Little bear, hear that? The Indian roared. Really, he had ears like a bat. Well, anyway, so you don't want us to bring these men? Uh-oh. There's a picture here. We haven't read anything about it yet. But if you look over here, we got a cat. And if you look real close in there, I'm thinking that's Boone. You see the little cowboy hat right there? Haven't read anything about this yet, but I bet you we can make some predictions. What's your hypothesis? What's going to happen to Boone? Well, anyway, so you don't want us to bring these men to life, said Patrick hurriedly. No need. Enough with braves. And now, guns. The boys exchanged glances. This was tricky. Little Bear was proud, and he wouldn't like the suggestion that the white men might be better with modern weapons. Listen, Little Bear, Omri began coaxingly. Suddenly they froze. Omri heard his mother's voice calling him from the house. Omri! Omri! What? He called back, getting quickly to his feet. Darling, Kits has caught a bird or a mouse or something. Anyway, she's playing with it on the big lawn. Can you... Omri's mind seemed to blow hollow like an egg. He stopped hearing what his mother was saying, but Patrick was up and off in a flash, charging through the bushes like a madman. Omri came behind him, the branches smacking him across the face. On the main lawn was Kitsa, her blackness and whiteness beautiful, sleek and deadly in the sunshine. She was crouched and concentrated. Her tail tip was twitching, all else about her perfectly still. There was something small and helpless and alive in the grass in front of her. And we go back to that page right there. Dun, dun, dun! And that ends chapter 12, boys and girls. Ah! I know, you'll have to stick around and see what happens in chapter 13. What's gonna happen to Boone? Will Omri bring these troops to life with their guns, or excuse me, the Iroquois Indians to life with the British soldiers' guns? This sounds like a disaster. Boone's in danger, and we're thinking about doing something dangerous with all these new Indian figures and guns from the English or British. Do the Indians know how to use the guns? I mean, if they're from different times, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But until then, boys and girls, thank you so much for listening to Chapter 12 of The Return of the Indian with Miss Amy. And if you're watching this before bedtime, good night and sleep tight.